Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kurt, and welcome back to Farlands or Bust. Woof indeed. Woof indeed. Oh, a little bit of lag there. Heard a little bit of footsteps out here. Don't know what that was. Somebody creeping up on me, perhaps. Yeah, we're back. Farlands or Bust. I'm recording this episode a little bit early. I know I like to try to record things and then put them up on the same day. Hold on, Wolfie. I know you're trying to get going. I'm trying to organize things like my inventory. Okay, yep, we can get going now. I've got a boat. I know I try to record these the day of and then upload them, but today is Sunday. It's Father's Day, so I had some time before I head out to my dad's house for a little cookout. And I figured I should start recording some Farlands or Bust. I'm not sure when this video is going to come up, to be honest, because Monday is a pretty video-heavy day with more wolves. With the conclusion of the 30% milestone video and the next ultra-hardcore video, so I don't want to overwhelm you guys, so this video might be coming out on Tuesday. Did I forget to get Wolfie? Crap. No, I stood him up. Alright, let's have him spawn. Come on, Wolfie. There he is. Okay. Okay. So yeah. But regardless, I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to just remind everybody over at farlandsorbust.com, we're obviously still doing the Child's Play charity fundraiser. We're at 61%. $18,027.79. Today, which might be different by the time I upload this video, but today that's where we're at, so I do appreciate the continuing contributions. And as I mentioned, finally got that 30% video up. We did for those of you who missed it over the weekend, we did a race for wool. A Farlands or Bust fan, created a Farlands themed race for wool map. And myself and the KGBs, which is Lorgon 111, Schism LP, and Gleason 9, we went up against a kind of a motley crew, if you will. Just a collection of other Mindcrack familiar names. We went up against Good, Etho, Zisto, and Pause. All veterans in the Race for Wool arena. And since the beginning, obviously, Good was the one who, with Vex, came up with the idea, and then Vex created the first Race for Wool map. But yeah, we did a Race for Wool on that map. That was a blind run. None of us had seen it before, which is kind of why things went a little bit wonky there at the end. As many Race for Wool maps go, a little bit weird at the end. I kind of wish that one concluded a little bit more, I guess, neatly. They obviously had us there. Okay, obviously, spoilers, if you haven't seen it, shut off your microphone, or headsets, or whatever. Spoilers. They obviously had us there, beat to that final wool, but there was a lot of confusion. And rightly so, a lot of confusion. It was just a fluke that we ended up finding the way to open up that door. But there was a lot of confusion about that interesting system. It's an interesting system, and this is going to be my brief critique of the Race to the Farlands map. And I don't have a Minecraft forum account, and I've been trying to get in contact through YouTube with the map's creator, but he appears to have disappeared off the face of the earth, because we found quite a few issues with the map that it has potential to be a good map, but with all these issues, I at least wanted to let him know about them, but I can't seem to get a reply out of him. But yeah, I guess this will be a little bit of a review of the map. I do like that idea, first of all, of requiring like a key, or at that very last wool, requiring the entire team to stand on pressure plates. That kind of solves the problem with other Race for Wool maps where, 3 team members can just sit there and be snipers and just disrupt the other people's plans, and while one teammate just does all the hard work and gets all the wool. So it kind of really forces everybody on the team to be at one spot at one time, which obviously leaves open for vulnerabilities like we were, but also you know, it requires everybody's participation, especially at the end of the map. There is the problem with the way it was executed in the Race for Wool map, in that it's not entirely clear, especially in a blind run, it's not entirely clear where that key was that is necessary. I don't think the keys, or the levers, whatever, I don't think they should have been in a completely separate section of the map. I think they should have been right there, like right at the door. Okay, use this lever to open up this door. Because it just ends up making the map a little bit too convoluted. You know, the basic purpose of Race for the Wool is to collect 3 wools. Well, with this lever thing, with the levers being in completely separate, isolated areas of the map, it's almost like you have to collect 6 wools, being these levers acting as the other wools. So, a lot of dogs lately. Very interesting. So yeah, that's my main critique of the map. There were actual technical problems. If you watched any of the other teams, stop it. If you watched any of the other teams' viewpoints, especially Zisto's, he went to the second wool, and their second wool didn't even have a door. So that kind of negated their need for a key anyway. Etho was on the other side, ready to switch the key regardless, but that's obviously a thing that needs to be fixed, and we didn't know about until we were playing it, because, like I said, this was a blind match. Also, you guys might have figured out that are seeing that on the right-hand side, that final thing where everybody has to stand on pressure plates, all of our side's pressure plates were wooden, whereas the other sides were stone. And with wooden pressure plates, we could have just, you know, thrown an item like that on the pressure plate instead of risking our own lives to get out there. We didn't end up doing that, obviously, but there are problems like that with the map, and I guess the latest version of the map he has listed there on the Minecraft forums it says it's ready for testing, so I'm assuming it's like a beta version, but I didn't want to wait to play it, so we just did it like that. But yeah, and just overall in terms of Race for Wool, if any of you guys are making Race for Wool maps, just stop it with the chutes and ladders. That worked for a little bit from Vex and Direct Fire, but since then it's just become a point of contention, just like you know, it just becomes an annoyance. I mean, I suppose the KGBs and I could have played it differently and actually just let them get that, go through the chutes and ladders and not made it a pinch point. But that's, you know, when you're kind of in a hole like we were at that point, we kind of had no choice, and that seems to happen. If somebody from either team doesn't blitz and get that the first thing off the bat, get through that chutes and ladders, then it's a pinch point, and it just elongates a match that should not be such elongated, and just becomes a little bit frustrating on both sides. But yeah, that map has potential. The Farlands area certainly is interesting, and I do appreciate all the signs, and you finally made it, Kurt, and fun things like that. But it requires some tweaks, and like I said, it has potential for being a decent Race for Wool map. It's not too short like Owlbox or Divided Together, and it's not crazy long like some of the other ones I've seen. Right now it is, because of all the running around everybody has to do to get these levers and things like that, but it has the potential to not be, too long. Which was, I was actually, we didn't anticipate it being a 2-hour thing. When we first started, we're like, let's limit it to 1 hour because we don't know if this map sucks. We've all played fan-made maps before, and it's really hard to have to trust a map maker that's unproven, so it's hard to say. But the way things were going, I guess time was flying, and it ended up being a 2-hour match, and then things concluded as they did. But we all I think had a good time, and we're all still talking about it, and yeah, we all had pretty much the same thoughts about the map. Let's make this an elevated ice hidey hole. Boop, boop, and boop, and boop. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the 30%... Wolfie! Good. The 30% video. I could have split those two parts up and said this is 30 and 40%, but I'm a nice guy. I don't do things like that. So you got double your 30% video with that. So let's go to sleep. And awakeness. And wolf hockey. Well, not really, he's not sitting down, but yeah, that happened. And now I've got to work on the 40, 50, and 60% videos. Indeed. What's up in recent news? Oh, in the last episode I mentioned how China was sending their 4th manned space flight. That went off fine on Saturday morning, June 16th, and they're due to dock, or to have docked, depending on when this video comes out, on Monday with their quote-unquote space station, which is actually just a scientific module that they have up in orbit that they're just kind of testing and proving their abilities to dock and then in the future create a space station. So that's great. More human space flight in the news. Of course, it's always, and there were some comments like this, but it's always, with China, there's a point of contention over, you know, it's hard to get news out of there that you can trust because it's all, you know, state-owned news agencies are the only ones reporting these things. So, and even with the past space flights that they've had, there have been the conspiracy theorists saying, oh, they haven't launched at all, they're just all trying to trick us into thinking they're better than us with space flight and stuff like that. And I can say that while you might, it might be a good thing to be a little bit skeptical of, you know, news that comes direct from just the Chinese government. This is actually something that they're doing and they're successful at. Obviously, if you watch the launch or you read up any on their spacecraft, you can see that there are many similarities between what they're doing and the systems that the Russian Soyuz rockets and even their spacesuits are extremely similar. I'm sure they've shared information and worked together. The thing I found was interesting. If you look at the Chinese, their creeper. I don't know what you're doing out at this time of day, but I don't like it. Oh, he saw me. Gotta go. Ha! Stuck on a tree. Yet, tree hugger. What was I saying? Oh, their space center. They have a VAB, and it's like pretty much a carbon copy of the Kennedy Space Center VAB. Which, I guess, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, so they must have liked the things we were doing when we built that back in the 60s, so they built pretty much the same exact VAB. But yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, that happened, that's good. Also kind of a little bit of a space news thing for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere. If you've never had a chance to see it, or you've never known that you could see it, spoiler. The International Space Station is making, because it's summertime, it's spending more time in the sunlight, which means it's more frequently visible during flyovers during the morning and evening, just actually almost all night sometimes, depending on your latitude. So you can go to a website that I use quite often is heavens-above.com, and you plug in your coordinates or choose yourself on the map, and then it'll give you predictions as to when the International Space Station and even other satellites are going to be flying over. I mean, you could even, if you're in a dark enough spot, you could spot the Chinese Shenzhou? I don't know how to say it, sorry. But the spacecraft that's up there now and the quote-unquote space station. But yeah, the International Space Station is something awesome to see fly over your house. It's really quite surprisingly bright. It's brighter than Venus sometimes. So go check that out. I was planning on, there's a plugin for Stellarium that actually allows you to view satellite flyovers, and the space station is part of that. So I think in the next Stellarium video I'll talk about such things as those. In diddly. Flanders. I guess we can answer some questions while we're here. We've got a little more than half a day left. Nate Evan 2000 asks, have you ever played any sports in your life? And if so, what kind, and were you any good at them? I've already mentioned many a time that I'm not much of a sports fan, and I'm not much of a sports person. You know, like when I was little, I was signed up for the park district or whatever T-ball, and then, whatever it's called, parent pitch baseball. I don't know why. It's just one of those things. Your parents try to find activities for you as a kid in elementary school to do during the summer, and that was one of them. I don't have any particularly fond memories, and I didn't make any friends. I just kind of went to the games and practices and then came home, whoop-de-doo. Not seriously, that's for sure. I know a lot of kids now play soccer or football, as you cross the pond to say. So, no, not really. In middle school, because I was quite an early bloomer. Look at all the pigs. I was in middle school 6 feet tall, so I was pretty tall, so I thought I had the wise idea. What's going on here? There we go. What was that move? Did you make friends or something like that? That was weird. I thought the game froze. Anyway, woof. I signed up for when they were starting to do basketball, middle school basketball. I showed up for the first informational meeting, and pretty much, yeah, kids are cruel. Pretty much, why is Kurt here? He doesn't play sports. It's that he's not part of our friends, or all these other people who sign up actually know what they're doing with basketball. So I'm like, okay, that's the last meeting of that I ever went to. So nuts to being involved with sports or other school activities. So thus began my downward spiral into isolation and introversion. No, that's not the origin. Origin story. Radiation. That's what it was. Gamma ray bursts. So yeah, no, not really. Not really at all. Nate's Evan 2000. A nice gigantic sand beach for once. I am Sean Connery. I am the last one. Instead of we've been seeing just a lot of gravel beaches, so it's nice to see a sand beach make its return. Another question somebody had. Dages? Either Dages or Dajes, if it's Spanish, is the J sound. Daji's Destiny asked, what's the most crazy scientific thing you could think of that could actually be true? Well, the cool thing about science is that it's true whether you believe it or not. So the truth part isn't part of this story, but I think, and I mentioned this in one of the last few space engine videos ago, and it's actually, there's quite a popular video on YouTube of Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about the most zombie spawner. Thought I heard zombies. Guess not. The most astounding fact, and I would have to agree with him on that. And it's certainly, he's not the one who first had that idea. I mean, you heard about the same sort of thing back when Carl Sagan with Cosmos was coming out. But just the fact that, all of the atoms in all of existence in the universe that we know of, including the atoms that make up your body and your eyelashes and the keyboard and desk in front of you, they can all be traced back to their origins in ancient suns, supermassive suns that collapsed into supernova, and from there it turned, the universe was entirely hydrogen at one point, and then through those processes we started end up getting the heavier elements. Obviously a star's natural life cycle creates helium, but then when it collapses and creates through a bunch of pressure and heat and then creates a supernova, those elements are created into iron and oxygen and carbon and all those fun things, and then they're exploded out into the universe, and then end up being these wispy nebulas and clouds that you can see in the night sky if you're in a dark spot, and then those end up bumping into each other, and you know, 2 different, 3 different, hello, zombies. Oh, hi. Oh, see you later. It's a pleasure to see you too. Yeah, and then all those elements, you know, 4 or 5 or 6 or a dozen different supernovas happen, and then all their collective dusts that have created all these different elements coalesce into another star system that does the same thing over and over and over again until a star system like our sun, hello, how appropriate, you know, ends up getting those elements, and then some of those elements, the leftovers, end up coalescing into little disk, protoplanetary disk, and then condense into planets. You know, and then the iron, you know, falls mostly to the center of, say, Earth, but it's that same iron that had the same origin of the same ancient supernova. That same iron is the iron that's in your blood, and it can be traceable to that. Get a torch job, and it's just you know, one of those amazing things. And then furthermore, okay, we can actually trace our origins, and that's not theory. That's actually measurable. There are these things called pre-solar grains that are being researched. They can actually be collected from comet fragments and certain types of asteroids that are actual grains of these elements that have not been coalesced or affected by our own sun's solar system processes, and can actually be traced back, and they actually have a list of, okay, this type of supernova exploded around this time, and then those elements are the source of this element in our solar system, and then this type of supernova happened here, and that came together, and then maybe there was a you know, some sort of shock wave that caused the collapse of the cloud, and so it's all, you know, this isn't theory, this is actually, we have physical evidence of this stuff. But then from that you can say, okay, that's our origin and the origin of all life on our planet. So you can think about it. We're made up of the star stuff. What am I trying to do? Make a boat. We're made up of the things in the universe. The universe, we are in the universe, but the universe is in us. So since we're starting to understand these processes and look through telescopes and look up at the sky, we are an example of the universe becoming self-aware. And that just like brain explosions, you know, so and you know, who knows, I doubt we're the only life forms in the universe, let alone intelligent life forms, but so we may not be the first, but we have no idea, so we might be the first, and that would be a certainly important thing to find out. Not that we ever would or might ever will, but we could be the first examples of the universe becoming self-aware. So with that crazy mind-bending idea, I will leave you with this is episode 160 of Far Lands or Bust. You can keep going to farlandsorbust.com to contribute to Child's Play charity, and I'll keep pumping out these milestone videos as quick as I can catch up. And I appreciate you watching. You can like, comment, and subscribe if you're not already. My name is Kurt. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time.